It's time for your news by the numbers. Tonight's number is 4. Two new polls show that only 4 out of 10 Americans approve of President Trump's approve of President Trump's current job in the White House. In an ABC Washington Post poll, those who strongly disapprove of the president outnumber those who approve of him by nearly 2 to 1, while 40% is Trump's highest approval of this year. Trump's average approval rating is the lowest in history on record, dating back all the way to Harry Truman. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. At the same time, another NBC Washington Post poll reported that Democrats hold an enthusiasm advantage heading into the midterm elections. 66% of Democrats report high levels of interest heading into the midterm elections, opposed to only 49% of Republicans. America, does this spell trouble for President Trump? You know, I got to tell you, I think it does. And we also learned today, as we're taping this, that about a dozen, more like 2 dozen, sitting Republican members of the Congress are not willing to say that they will endorse President Trump in his re-election bid in 2020, including Senator Ron Johnson, who was a conservative, who said it was a gotcha question. And in my mind, I'm just like, no, it's not a gotcha question. Like when Democrats were asked in, what would that be, 2014, will they support President Obama? Excuse me, when they were asked in 2010, will they support President Obama in 2012? Democrats, I think every member of the United States House was like, yeah. Every member of the United States Senate was, Democrat member of the United States Senate was like, oh, of course, absolutely. Every Democratic governor was like, yeah, makes total sense. In this case, Republicans seem to be jumping off the Trump train as if they know the train is headed for a cliff. Yes, indeed, America, it seems to be true. And not only is this a problem with just sitting members of the United States House and the United States Senate, but as I said at the top of this segment, this seems to be a problem with the American people. President Trump has never, hear me, has never gotten above a 50% approval rating with the American people. And then you're going to hear arguments from the conservative right and from conservative media that there is media bias. And the media bias explains why President Trump has such a low approval rating. Now, I will give conservative the argument that there is I don't even know what you would call it, a chasm, a valley, a rift, many names to describe the same thing that exists between President Trump and the media. It's not lovey-dovey. You can say all of that. But to criticize the media for covering the president, and to criticize the media for covering the president's many missteps, is not wrong. I mean, it's not wrong for the media to cover the president's missteps. That's their job. The job of the press is to zealously cover the president and zealously search for truth. And so it is not media bias to cover the fact that the president slept with a porn star, that porn star and the president signed a non-disclosure agreement. That non-disclosure agreement has been sort of tied up in the courts because the president's lawyer slash fixer has engaged in some sort of criminal malfeasance, as we seem to know now, that warranted a federal judge issuing a search warrant to his law offices, his home, and his hotel. And now the media's not supposed to cover it because that's media bias? I don't know about that. Here's the truth. The truth is that President Trump hasn't been the greatest president. Period. Remember when this president ran? He ran on this ideal that the economy is doing well, the stock market's doing well. Look how great the stock market's still doing. Look how good the Dow is doing. I wish we could pull every single tweet that this president tweeted for his first 18 months in office of how great the Dow Industrial Average is doing. Because now that the Dow has taken a nosedive, the president stopped talking about it. Remember, this president also said, America, that he was going to pass a tax cut that was going to prime pump the American economy. And while, yes, there has been some economic advantages, there have been jobs added, there has been factories being built, the American people seem to be getting back on track with the economy, The reason for that is twofold. One, because you had 8 years of economic stability under President Barack Obama. And two, to some extent, President Trump's tax cuts have something to do with it. But that does not also take away from the fact that corporation after corporation after corporation have decided to lay off workers, even though they've received millions of dollars in corporate welfare from President Trump's tax cut. So when the press is covering this president, they're just talking about the facts. And when the press gets it wrong, we should scrutinize them vehemently. But when they get it right, we should be like, he's just not a good president. And in this case, America, he's not a good president. And that's why the American people have a distaste in their mouth for President Donald J. Trump.